Paul writes this in Philippians chapter 1, verses 9 through 11. And this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and discernment, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. I want you to imagine a river without banks, just how wild the water would be, flooding fields, eroding land, maybe even destroying towns. Honestly, it would lose its direction. And while a river's power is immense, it only makes a positive impact when it's guided by boundaries that direct its flow. And so Paul here, he's praying for the Philippians that their love to abound more and more, not aimlessly, but with the banks of knowledge and discernment directing it. Because love without wisdom can be reckless, and love without discernment can be harsh. But together they form a type of love that can heal, that builds, that encourages, that brings clarity rather than confusion. I want you to think of maybe a well-meaning friend who gives comfort in a way that hurts more than it helps. Maybe they say, everything happens for a reason. When what you really need not is their advice or their opinion, but just their presence. You don't need the platitude. Or maybe it's a parent who loves their child deeply but spoils them with indulgence after indulgence rather than discipline, failing to prepare them for real life. Love that lacks knowledge can be misguided. Love that lacks discernment can be damaging. But love that is both wise and sincere is absolutely transformational. Because there's a difference between helping and enabling. There's a difference between loving and appeasing. And we can be so eager to love that we may fail to ask, is this actually helpful? Is this type of love leading someone towards truth, or is this type of love just making them feel good for a moment? See, Jesus modeled this transformational love. He was tender with the broken, yet firm with the self-righteous. He wept with those who mourned, but he also challenged people towards holiness. See, his love was never aimless. It was always intentional, always wise. It was always rooted in the truth of his word. See, Paul's prayer is for us as well to have a love that is directed, not diluted. A love that discerns when to speak and also when to stay silent. When to challenge and when to comfort. A love that flows within the banks of knowledge and discernment, with truth, with bringing life, renewal, and strength with wherever our love may go. And so the question is, how do we cultivate this kind of love that Paul's getting at? Number one, I think we need to stay rooted in Scripture, stay rooted in knowledge, right? The more we understand God's love, the more we're able to love like him. His love is both merciful and just, patient and corrective. Number two is to pray for discernment. Love isn't just about what we feel there in the moment. It's about what God leads us to do. Are we asking for wisdom to love well, of when to encourage and when to correct and when to simply just be silent and present? And number three is to love with the end in mind. Loving well means helping others grow spiritually, not just to feel better in that moment and put the Band-Aid on. It's what we typically tend to do. But true love is willing to sacrifice comfort for the sake of someone else's growth. So the question is your love flowing like a powerful river with direction? Or is it spilling over without guidance, causing damage? And so let's be people whose love builds up, strengthens, and leads others towards Christ. A love that transforms. And so I have a challenging engagement question for you today, and feel free to go over and put it on the Church Center app. But can you think of a time when love without wisdom or discernment, either from you or someone else, led to unintended consequences and damage? And how did that experience shape your understanding of what it means to love well? Would love to see your answers over on the Church Center app for others to see and engage with, but if not, that's okay too. I hope you take the time at the very least to think and reflect on this, and we'll see you back here next week.